that people have asked so many times, that how is it that the armed forces succeed or rather end up doing what is required out of them? Every time I come to any school function, this kind of a sing-song greeting takes me back 40 years. Okay, so respected campus director ma'am, the principal, the teachers and members of the faculty, very proud parents, as I can make out from whatever faces I can see, and lovely hardworking children. It gives me immense pride to be part of the annual day function, and thank you for making me part of it. As I was seeing the children perform and also hearing the principal talk about all the achievements that the school has had, I couldn't help but going back so many years to my own school days. And I can say with a certain sense of finality that yes, while we learned a lot of stuff that was officially academically taught to us in school, one very important facet of what my personality developed into was participating in these kind of events. And while these events take place, we may not at that time realize the kind of impact that is having on the children, but in the long run, it becomes invaluable. I wanted to take this opportunity to share a few of my thoughts with the parents, especially. And many a times during a lot of interactions, either in my present appointment as the DDG of NCC or even in my previous appointments, I've often been asked one question as to how is it that the Indian armed forces tend to become the nation's last bastion of calling in any situation. And I'm not talking about only operational war or a counter-terrorism, counter-insurgency where I spend most of my time. I'm not talking about that. It could be something as different from a main role as a bridge falling. It could be an earthquake. It could be a flood. It could be a child unfortunately falling into some kind of an open pit. It could be any kind of a crisis. How is it that the armed forces tend to become the last bastion of calling for the nation? And there are no supermen amongst us. We are just normal human beings who are doing a few things. And that I, in a small way, would like to abstract them and call them life skill qualities. So I'll share my thoughts on these certain qualities which I feel that as parents, if you can register a few of them, pass it on to the children in best way possible, our subsequent generations as they are coming up, every generation is smarter than the others. Let me tell you, this is a scientific fact. Every generation is smarter than the previous one. That is how we have come from caves to the skyscrapers. It's a fact. And we can give that particular new generation that kind of a direction. So the first thing that I strongly believe in is having the facet of effective intelligence. Basic intelligence is there. We all know that, IQ, etc. There is a certain amount of academic intelligence which comes in. And academic intelligence is important. Yes, it shows a certain direction. But effective intelligence is what distinguishes as you move ahead in life. And that is basically using your basic intelligence to resolve day-to-day issues, especially in places that you're not familiar with. Things that you're familiar with, you can resolve it based on your knowledge and a little bit of skill. But otherwise, it is the effective intelligence which helps you. So first thing that I always stress upon is effective intelligence. Second, please encourage children into leadership roles. Leadership qualities are invaluable. We often underrate them. And by leadership roles, I do not mean becoming a class monitor, becoming a school captain, becoming a cricket team captain. Leadership role comes into every small part. Even a small thing like 5 children planning a picnic, there is a leadership role which takes into play. And please encourage the kids to take it on. Guide them. Let them make mistakes. It doesn't matter. It's not a life and death situation. A small mistake here and there is part of the learning. Leadership skills comes out of having a little bit of competence, of course. You have to have the knowledge of what you're doing. confidence, communication, and a sense of sacrifice. I'll not dwell upon all these too much. I don't want to elongate what I'm saying, but generally, please encourage them to take on leadership roles. Third, now this is slightly different from what is the popular opinion nowadays. Please work on them developing an organic mental stamina. It's very easy to be part of a winning team or when things are going well. But the true test of a character comes out when your team doesn't do well or when you don't do well. Mental stamina prepares you for the rough and tumble of life. Parents here know what I'm talking about. Most of the time, no one told us this when we were growing up. We learned it on the way up. Some of us took a harder knock, some of us it was fortunate not to take it. But if children are organically taught about the aspect of mental stamina, that things will not go as per plan. Schools, colleges, etc. are all very, very controlled environment. The real world is tough. The real world is difficult. The real world does not care for your sensibilities, so to say. So I'm not saying become ruthless with them, start giving them the rough and tumble of the National Defense Academy. No, but just be aware that mental stamina is a very important aspect of them succeeding further, especially so in the present day age. And finally, the integrity of purpose. Children are basically, they have very high sense of integrity. A small child has a very high sense of integrity. To ask a small child what is right, what is wrong, he or she will tell you the right answer. Over a period of time, as we grow up, we start putting filters onto that. But now coming back to the same question that people have asked so many times, that how is it that the armed forces succeed or rather end up doing what is required out of them? It is as simple as that. We just have an integrity of purpose. In simple words, we do what we are supposed to do at the time that we are supposed to do it. When we are supposed to prepare for a particular situation, we prepare for it sincerely. That's why the execution part comes up that much easier. That's all. There is no magic mantra to it. There's no magic pill to it. Just the integrity of purpose. This is not only in the armed forces. The difference between a cricketer who had potential and could reach the heights are not any names, and the difference between a person who could not. Any field, business, services, any field, those who have integrity of purpose score over those who don't. If we can get it into our children right now at this age, nothing better. Um, I don't want to convert this into a long moral lecture kind of a thing. These were my simple thoughts that I thought I'll share with all of you. We all know the hierarchy of learning, knowledge, skill, aptitude, and then finally attitude. It's about having a correct attitude towards life that I think so knowledge, skill is of course what we are gaining here. Aptitude, which takes us into a particular way. In India, it's not always possible to have a profession based on your aptitude. Let's be practical. Times you have aptitude towards certain things, but you have to have multiple skills. But it's attitude. It's 80% of life's success or lack of it depends upon our attitude. And that is what we have to translate it into our kids. Like I have almost lived my career now on the towards the end. A lot of the parents are much younger, and I wish all of you a wonderful future ahead. Thank you again for making me part of this wonderful occasion. And kids, wish you all the very best. God bless all of you. Jai Hind.